welcome back to another episode of Stripped by Sia, your podcast for strippers, sex workers, and all the fancy naked people in between. I'm your host, Steph Sia, aka Kimchi on stage. I really need to stop saying that because I don't even know what the hell I'm going to be dancing on stage next. I have been spending a lot more time online, so you can find me on where am I at? I'm at Sex Panther. I'm also on Streamate exclusively under the name Sia on Camera, so you can check me out there if you're interested in that kind of stuff. I know there's some clients that listen to the show, so feel free to go find me on there. I have been a sex worker for over a decade, starting my work in the sugar baby world, leading over into stripping, and then online content creation work and camming. So if you are listening here for the first time, this show is all about destigmatizing sex work. And I've been bringing different guests on for the past 5 years, which is just really crazy to me. We're on season 7 already, and it's been a really fun exploratory journey. And I myself have constantly been learning from all the guests that I bring onto the show. So people from cam models, like we're having on today, we have adult performers, we have nonprofit organizations that help fight for the decriminalization of sex work. We have producers, we have other podcasters and people in the adult space and allies that come to the show. So really just trying to provide a really in-depth, thorough, and accurate approach to what our work really entails, and not just the fluff that you might see on TikTok or online or in media and stuff. There's just a lot of fluff out there, and I really kind of want to set the record straight and also just give voice to the people, because oftentimes their voices are unheard and we get misrepresented in so many ways. So that's my kind of way of giving back to the community. So this episode is really aiming to educate folks. This episode today is really focusing on the flip side of cam studios, and I have done a really great episode with cam studio owner Bella Vendetta back in last season, talking about all the pros and really great things that you can achieve with a studio and how that can really catapult you to success. But of course, there is a different side to that as well. Not all cam studios are built the same, and I'm really looking forward to speaking with our guest today, who I'll be introducing to you shortly, who's going to be talking about some firsthand experience on that specific topic. But before we get into that, I do want to say hello and thank you to all the lovely Patreon subscribers. You guys are helping support the show. And of course, all of that money goes directly to my website hosting for the show, which needs to be updated. But that is kind of where your dollars are going, as well as attending some industry related events in North America, where I am based out of. So I just want to say hello to those who are on top tier. I do have Dale Flood, who is the newest member, who's based out where I am in Vancouver, Canada. We also have Red Door Products, also in the Pacific Northwest, but in Seattle. Thank you, Dan, for all of your support in the past year. We have McKenna King, who's a previous guest on the show, based in Edmonton. Also have Bia York from Seattle. Love it when other creators and past guests come onto the show and are able to help support and give back. Love it. And thank you so much for doing that. We also have Eric Arajo, we have Geyser, and last but not least, we have Snoo, who hails all the way from Germany. So thank you all from all around the world supporting the show and listening. I really do hope that you find the show to be a great resource, and that you found these conversations to be helpful in some kind of way, whether they're to educate your friends or other people in the community and stuff too. Thanks so much for sharing the word and helping out there. If you're interested in becoming a patron, you could go ahead and check it out. It's patreon.com/strippedbysia. And there are tiers for as low as $4 a month. And that gets you access to all of the episodes, all the video exclusivity. So all of the full uncut videos are posted onto my Patreon, and you are getting the episodes currently for the season super ahead of time. We're almost like a month and a half in advance at this point. So feel free to go ahead and get a sneak peek. Of course, I would love it if you listen to the episode and help my download numbers. That also works out as well. But yeah, lots of great perks in there, including bonus episodes and kind of a sneak peek on who I'm bringing on and what guests and topics I'm trying to tackle, and like things that I'm trying to match up for upcoming episodes. So lots of really great goodies on there. It's patreon.com/strippedbysia. But as mentioned, we're not just talking about Patreon today. We are going to be talking about toxicity in cam studios today with our esteemed guest hailing all the way from the UK, originally based in Romania, who is a live cam model on Live Jasmine, another premium camming platform. And I am super, super excited to give a nice long chat with her today to speak about her experience with camming and also with I guess like studio camming and also with independent, where she is now. Her name is Sophie Rhyder, and I'm so excited to have her come on the show today to speak to us about this very topic. So, hello, Sophie. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me. Really appreciate it. I'm hoping that we can educate people on some of the, say, bad sides of it, but we'll dive into that.
Yeah, we'll definitely dive into that. And like, yeah, I mean, like bad side, sure, or like the flip side. There are some challenges with every part of the industry. I would say that no industry is exempt from some not so nice things, which we'll definitely be talking about today. So that is going to take a good like chunk of the episode today. We're also going to be talking about, of course, boundaries. We're going to be talking about clients and who makes up our clients on these platforms, why they're on their platforms. We have some good theories on that, and the emotional support that us sex workers, us cam models, we provide to those folks who are seeing us online. So a lot of stuff that we're going to be unpacking here, Sophie. I'm super excited to kind of get into things with you. But before we get started into that topic, I'd love for the audience to get to know you a little bit better. Maybe we can hear a little bit about your story in terms of like how you got started in the whole business. Feel free to go off.
Thank you. So my name is Sophie Ryder. I've been in the sex industry for about 2 years now, which I know is not a lot, but I've been really involved in it, and not just practicing, but also learning about it, connecting with people, which I think is very important as an independent model. How did I start it? Well, I am Romanian, and in Romania, camming is a very big industry. On a lot of platforms, actually, you will mostly find two nationalities. It's Romanians and Colombians. So these two
Oh.
countries, it's mostly cam models, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Except I believe in Colombia, it's more open about it, whereas in
Yes.
Romania, everyone does it, but you really can't mention that you do it. No one should know. But everyone
Oh.
knows, and
Yeah.
also Romanian men consume it, but they will never admit.
Hmm.
So
It's like a don't ask, don't
I just had
tell.
friends who, yes, but
Yeah.
you know it's true. So I
Interesting.
had friends who were doing it. I don't want to say I grew up with it, but you just see, you hear about it. It's on the news sometimes when they have documentaries about maybe a studio or something. So you know that it exists.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought, you know what? I used to have a very good job. I was working in a corporation, but it just wasn't fulfilling because as a woman, sometimes you have to put a lot more effort, even if you are just as good as a man. It's harder to prove yourself. And it got to the point where I was working. I was doing every extra project I could possibly get my hands on, and there was no recognition. Also, the money just wasn't great,
Yes.
even though the job itself for my age was quite good, but it just never felt enough. Also, I live in England now, so I'm
Mm-hmm.
Romanian, but I've been living in England, and the economy is very, very bad. So it got to
Mm-hmm.
the point where I felt like I need something to just keep me afloat.
Right.
And that's how I started camming.
Wow.
It's also because I love talking to people.
Mm-hmm.
It's not hard for me to go online and just have a conversation. I guess the other harder part I had to kind of learn was to be confident naked because it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter how sexy you feel as a woman, going on camera is a job.
Yes.
You need to learn angles, lighting, anything because it's not as easy as just opening up your phone, going on Snapchat, and taking one nude photo. It's
Right.
a whole industry.
Mm-hmm.
So that was part of learning, but this is what I've been doing for 2 years now. And recently, I've started also creating content
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like that is also a big part of the industry. So I'm streaming on Live Jasmine and I'm selling content on my.club,
Mm-hmm.
which is a new platform which I really recommend for people to check out. We also have something called Digital Twin, which
Oh.
uses AI. it's a carbon copy of me.
I
We've
have heard
uploaded
about
all our
this.
photos, different angles, like a mugshot,
Yeah,
and it's able to create photos that look like me. Obviously, we're not tricking members.
right,
If a photo is AI created, it will say that.
right.
So please, anyone listening, don't think that you were gonna get the photo and it's not really me. But yeah, it's full of different surprises on that platform. So that's where I'm working at the moment as well.
For sure.
And that's my story.
Wow. Okay. So many things here. And we're definitely going to be talking. We're going to make time to talk about AI and talk about that platform at the end as well. We're going to squeeze it all into today's episode. But yeah. So yeah, it's been a couple of years since you've been camming. And as you mentioned, it's such a huge industry and very interesting that you were mentioning in terms of the culture and Romanian culture. It's like one of those things that, it's happening, but no one's able to talk about it, but people know, which is really interesting. In terms of yourself getting started, was it still back in Romania when you got started, or after you moved to the UK?
No, after I moved in the UK,
Mm-hmm.
and that is one of the reasons why I didn't start with a studio as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not trying to be a hypocrite. We're going to talk about studios. I've never worked in one, but I know about it.
Mm.
Everyone talks about it. People share their experiences. But in England, they don't have camming studios.
Hmm.
Probably because it's not big, not very well known here. Um, I think British girls usually do fan sites like OnlyFans,
Mm-hmm.
which you don't really need to do in a studio. But in Romania, you have about 5 studios in every city. There's plenty to choose from.
Wow. Wow. I did not know that. And I know, like, I don't know if you know much about like Romanian laws, because I know, like, obviously you've probably heard of Andrew Tate, who relocated. Yes, you're like eye
Yes.
rolling. Obviously he did a lot of, and I'll put a trigger warning in the beginning of this episode because I didn't know if we're going to talk about this, but obviously he ran some, I guess, studios, but basically traffic girls, and then moved over to Romania because of the laws were a little bit more stringent there. Um, I don't mean to talk about this super early on in the episode, but we'll talk about it now since we're mentioning it. But
Sure.
yeah, in terms of like, I can talk about like with camming and the conflation of trafficking and Romania with Romanian laws because they're a little bit of a gray area. Can you share any insight on that? And if it's
hmm
mainly Romanian girls or other Eastern European girls, I'd love to hear a little bit of insight before we kind of dive in.
Okay, so I can't speak on behalf of Andrew Tate. I'm not sure
Mm-hmm.
if he's actually trafficking them or not. That's between him and the law.
Yeah.
But I feel like the Western world also got a little bit of a wrong impression about it because, let's be honest, he says some things that are outrageous.
Yes.
And that's his brand.
Yeah.
That's how he gets his views.
Totally.
But the thing is, Romanian girls want to do the job. And I feel like for the Western world, that's hard to believe,
Mm-hmm.
but we like it,
Mm-hmm.
especially because, and this is a very important part, it's not always sexual. It's not always sexual.
Yes.
So, yes, we are good at it, we enjoy it, and most studio managers are men. But
Mm-hmm.
of course, if you present it in the wrong light and you say, oh, there's this man that makes these women get naked, it sounds like pimping.
Right. Right. There's a
Again,
fine
I'm trying to wash
line.
my hands. I don't know if that's what I
Yeah.
don't know if that's what he's doing, but I'm pretty sure that you know some of the girls want to do that. Um, I'm not dismissing sex trafficking. That is a real
Of
problem,
course.
but most studios are legal.
Mm-hmm.
You are supposed to
Yeah, you're
to be
supposed to be
legal. You're
legal.
supposed to pay your taxes.
Right.
Yes,
Of course.
absolutely. Even as an independent or as a studio, when you go with a bank, so you're trying to get your income to the bank, you have to tell them in Romania that it's from camming.
Ah,
Yes, and they accept it. That's the
that's
thing.
good
Not all
though.
banks, some of them.
Hmm.
So that just proves that it is legal.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it's frowned upon because Romania, at least the party that rules it, is still a little bit religious,
Traditional. Oh,
conservative.
yes.
Yeah, so they don't really like it. They're trying to pass a law at the moment, which I'm not sure
Oh,
if it will
interesting.
pass or not,
Yeah.
where studios or any sort of establishment where there is scamming need to be 1 kilometer away from churches and schools.
What?
I
Why?
mean,
That's
nothing
so.
happens. because they're scared that it will rub off. I'm
Oh
not
my
sure.
gosh.
It's stupid.
That's okay. This is
I know.
funny. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna have to look into that after this. Interesting.
Because don't get me wrong, a studio or any place that does camming, you wouldn't be able to tell from the outside that
Yeah,
it's that
totally.
because it just looks like a normal house,
Yes.
a normal block of flats. That's it. But I think they're scared of bad advertising, but we don't put big banners up with titties and saying come join us. But there has been some marketing strategies that people didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
One studio from Romania, I don't remember the name, but they put their studio name and a picture of just a model, like a normal girl dressed,
Yeah.
on a car. And I think the motto on the car was something about how we can create your future.
Yeah.
Nothing bad, nothing saying, hey, you're gonna use dildos and you're gonna be depraved. No.
Right.
Um, and they were parking, they were parking them all over the capital.
Yeah.
And then obviously the religious people saw it. They saw that it was in front of universities, and they
Mm.
thought that they're trying to convince young minds.
Oh, like trying to
But that's
market.
just how marketing works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Oh my gosh, that's really funny. I mean, it's very again, when you have people in power that have very conservative values like this, to us who have maybe a bit more liberal minds, it just sounds really funny. But they,
It is funny because, yes, they complain about the cars being in front of universities and convincing naive minds, let's say.
Mhm.
But for a lot of cam models, the reality is working as a cam model helped them pay for their studies.
Yes,
That's it. A lot of them are still students and they still go to university, but fees are expensive,
yeah.
so it helps.
Totally. It's like, I mean, that's a reason why so many people go into sex work regardless of their age or where they're at in life, because it is an easier, there's like less barriers to access in terms of like getting the work started. You don't need like a degree, you don't need any special education to do it. So, of course, I'm not using the words easy money, but like, it's more accessible than say other jobs that might need and require some formal training. So there's nothing wrong with that in my opinion. And you have to be
No,
obviously
I think it gives people a fair chance.
yes. Yes,
Yes.
absolutely. Which is I mean, reasons why probably like you and me do camming, because it's like really great, and also the flexibility that comes with it is really awesome, and I could really have and exercise a good work life balance. But I mean, beyond this, talking about the topic at hand today in terms of like toxicity, or like, I guess what you've heard amongst other models that might have worked in studios. Let's kind of get into that. I'd love to hear more about that. And when you're referring to studios, is this more so where where you were based in Rome, where you were based in Romania, or just kind of all around the world, or things that you've heard in the grapevine?
Okay, so when it comes to camming studios, I feel like the primary countries are Romania, Colombia, and Russia.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And even when you go to awards galas, you have different categories where models are nominated from, and you see Romanian models here, Colombian models here. It's not a lot of others. Or if it is American, like North American, it's a small
Yeah,
category,
totally.
but it's usually independent models.
Right.
So I want to start by saying studios are good.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk
They are
about the
needed.
pros.
They're very good.
Yes, let's talk about the good
Yes,
things.
for an independent, for a model that's just starting in the industry, it can be very beneficial because they offer, first of all, training. And when you start on a new platform, you don't know what to do, you don't know what the rules are, and it's good to have that sort of guidance. Secondly, they provide the place you stream from, which is very important.
Right.
The room, the setup. Some girls, maybe they live with their parents, maybe they have children. You
Mm-hmm.
can't do it from home. Maybe your neighbors don't want to hear that, especially because most of the times, as a Romanian, we work at night because that's when most of our high paying members are awake,
Yes.
for example, North America.
Right.
So you don't want your neighbors to hear that. And the studio provides you with the best looking rooms,
Mm-hmm.
because it's very important, especially on premium websites. They want your room to look glam. They want it to look luxurious,
Right.
and that furniture is expensive.
Yes.
It's very expensive to get that room. Studios will also give you the equipment. A
Yes.
camera alone is very
Yeah.
expensive. Outfits,
Yeah.
toys, it's really expensive. If you want to have the best, it's really expensive.
Of
And
course.
members always ask for new things. They ask for a specific color on the dildo. They ask
Right.
for all sorts of heels. As a
Yes.
cam model, 2 years in, I have every single piece of clothing I could ever imagine, and I'm still buying more. So a studio can help you with that.
hmm
They give you English lessons
hmm
in case you're not very good with that. So I can see the appeal for it. They sometimes give you photo shoots with a professional photographer, which for me, I would love that because in Romania, a photo shoot would cost about $200.
hmm
Okay,
Yeah.
whereas in England, it's $2,000.
Oh my
The
gosh.
difference,
It's crazy.
I know.
And it's expensive. There's like there can be a big startup cost when you are starting off.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
And like I said, depending on where you work, you might need professional photo shoots or not.
hmm
Um, People still love homemade porn
yes.
or amateur porn, but when it comes to your brand and representing yourself, you want some professional
Yeah,
photos.
slightly more
You
polished.
want people to look, yeah, you want people to look at your profile and think, wow, she's worth the money.
Yes.
So that is very expensive. So I can understand the appeal for a studio
hmm Totally.
in theory, and most of them are good, but it gets to a point where you learn everything and then you kind of want to separate yourself from a studio because let's be honest, they will take a big fee
Yes.
out of your money.
Of course.
Platforms will take their fee and then whatever you're left with, the studio will take a fee as well.
Yeah.
But it's understandable because they have to pay their staff, they have to pay the trainers,
hmm
they have to get money back on their equipment,
Yes.
the training they invest in you. So it makes
It
sense.
makes sense. For sure. For sure. But I mean, these are all great things. Obviously, this is a huge help for models, especially when you're first starting out. Like, it's really good to have that help because, if you're a newbie in camming, as I was before, I think we all were at some point, it can be very overwhelming. And if you don't have that guidance, and you don't have that support, it can make it a little bit difficult in terms of like navigating the platform. And there are a lot of some depending on the sites you're on too. There can be some clients that may want to steer you in certain directions, like, oh, let me help you out, and like let me get a free show from you in lieu of that, and stuff like that. We've heard it all. We've seen a lot of this stuff, so it can be really helpful to have that kind of like mentor or like that hand to hold when you're getting started. However, I mean, there's always two sides to the coin here. I mean, yes, we did name a couple of things in terms of, like, yeah, they take a big cut, but all the stuff is understandable. I do want to mention and talk about the traffic control that cam studios have, which is a good thing. Yes, definitely a good thing. But let's also talk about how that can also affect models in terms of like FOMO, fear of missing out in terms of like getting paid clients and stuff too. But I would love to hear a little bit more on the controlling of traffic and members and paying customers coming into your rooms.
Okay. Well, most studios and most platforms have deals with each other. And this is nothing hush hush. I mean, everyone knows it's business after all. They're paying for that. So studios will pay for specific traffic or to the affiliates, which means that the platform will give most of the high end payers to studio, and us individual models are kind of left with whatever we can have. I'm not complaining about it because, like I said, if I'm not happy, I can just join a studio. It's business after all. They're not doing anything illegal or wrong, but it just feels like some platforms really only care about the studios. But as an independent model, I'm still bringing money to the platform. I would like to have some sort of intimacy with the platform, if that's the right word. Many times I don't get any of the news. Yes, they have a newsletter, but it's different when you have someone very close to the platform email directly with the studio owner, and they can say, hey, we have this contest, here's a couple tips on it. There's been changes on the platform where I work, and I never heard about them, and I was curious why I'm never in the awards games anymore, but that's because I was just not doing something that they didn't tell me that I have to do now. So the only reason I found out about it was because I went to Bucharest Summit, a summit about the industry, and I literally walked up to the CEO of the platform and I said, "Hi, I'm a really small creator here, but I've been talking to support. No one can give me an answer. Why is this happening?" And he told me, but because I'm not in the studio, there was no way I could have found out, and I've been missing out on awards, meaning getting money, because of a very small thing. So that's not great. I'm not saying I need a super tight relationship with the highest member of the platform, but it's just not fair because we are also bringing money as independent models. It's not just the studios. And the thing is, independent models are not compared to studio models. They're compared to the studio itself.
Um.
So the client that the platform works with is the studio versus me.
Right.
So now, even if I bring, let's say, $3,000 a month to the platform, but the studio with all its models brings a lot more, I'm not going to get the same traffic as model A because it's compared to the whole studio. They are their clients because they're bringing more money. And like I said, it is business. I understand the platform wants to make money, studio wants to make money, they have a deal. But I just wish there was a little bit of help for us because there's a lot of great independent models who are very good workers.
Yeah.
They have a good work ethic and they could really make a lot of money if they were given the chance. But sometimes we're left with people that want the most out of
Spill
us
it.
for nothing if possible.
Yes.
Yeah, if possible, give 90% discount of the price, which is
Oh
nothing
my
when you think about the
gosh.
percentage that we take. And, they'll ask for, can I say bad words here?
Of course. Yeah. Go spill.
Yes, okay. They'll ask for you to squirt, come, do a cartwheel on a dildo in 2 minutes.
Right.
That's
Right.
just not possible.
God.
Whereas big payers, you know, whereas big payers are willing to spend a little bit more time to warm you up, just as it should be,
Yes.
men, right?
Men listening,
But
please take note.
men and women, it's
Yes.
just, I'm gonna be honest, as a cam model, it is usually straight men
Yes.
that come to me. So it's nothing about only preferring that. That's just
Totally.
what our
That's a
customers
client.
are.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get, yeah, sometimes we get other sorts of men. I just never have women for some reason.
No, me too. I never have
They
women.
don't, no, it's always men, or it's either straight men or people that are probably just testing the water into bi. And
Definitely.
sometimes I get transsexual as well. But it's very rare, and
Very
usually it's
rare.
just a starting point for them, and they want to discover. So we encourage, at least I encourage them to play into
Of
it,
course. Yeah, me too.
and see what they like.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like going back into what you just said in terms of like they're asking for everything from like XYZ in the span of like, yeah, 2 minutes or like even less. It's, I mean, I'd love to talk about that because there are certain expectations, yes, when you're a paying client for anything, for any service, right? Like there's a reasonable, and I think reasonable expectation that you are supposed to receive a service. But when they're coming with so many requests and really unrealistic expectations, I mean, how do you handle that as a model? I mean, I have my own certain ways of dealing with things now, but like I'd love to hear from your perspective, Sophie, on how you deal with these people because it can be really frustrating sometimes.
Hmm. The thing is, members don't see what we have to go through an entire shift. So if I have 5 members asking for discount, big discount, it can get really frustrating for me. But for them, it's just they're asking one person, so they don't really think about that. And yes, we can have a discussion about how some of them see us as just sex toys.
Yeah.
They don't consider us to be humans. And in all honesty, I don't have a preference that everyone sees me as human, because some people are just quick paying members. They just want to come and leave.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to give them a lecture on how I am a real human.
Yeah.
But when it comes to people that you can actually talk to, I prefer to see some respect, because I respect them as members. I want to give them a good experience. I've never wasted someone's time. I never said I will do something in a private session but then not do it. I've always been upfront about it, because I have respect for their money and the fact that they're choosing to spend it on me.
Right.
I would prefer that I get that as well, because the more you respect the cam model or any sort of person in the industry, it doesn't matter if it's an escort, content creator, the more respect you give them, the more they are willing to actually help you and actually give you a better experience. Because if someone says to me, hey, can I have a free picture, after they've been very nice to me in private, and of course I'm going to give them a free picture. It's not a problem. I can do that.
Sure.
But not all of them are like this.
Yeah.
Um, and sometimes you have, for example, I don't do BDSM.
No, that's
I
fine.
do femdom sometimes.
Yeah.
But so somehow you still get some people that are funneled through on the main section of, let's say, my platform, that might like BDSM, but they don't want to go to the BDSM category,
Right.
right? And my understanding of it, I didn't ask anyone, but I can tell you that this is it. It's because they don't want to pay as much as they need to pay for a dominatrix
Right.
or a mistress, right?
Very
Because
true.
with the dominatrix or a mistress, you need to pay a tribute first.
Yeah.
You want to speak to her, and then you need good money. So they will come to us, the regular girls, the girls next door, and they will ask for specific things like this, because even we have latex, PVC, leather, we have all of those outfits. But they'll do it because they know we are a little bit more flexible,
Right. Yeah. It's true.
right? So they get away with it. But sometimes you have someone who is, let's say, very dominant. And if you know anything about this, um, when you are a dom, let's say a straight man, and you want to be a dom towards a woman, you need to have boundaries. You need to have
Yes.
discussions beforehand.
Of course.
No one will just jump into it and start slapping and kicking and whipping.
Right.
You need to discuss all of this, have the safe words,
Yes.
boundaries, limitations. And it's a big conversation to have beforehand. But some of these people will come on our page, take us straight to private, don't ask anything about it, don't ask, are you submissive, are you dominant?
Right.
And then they just go straight into the role play. And it's very confusing, because, listen, if you want to call me a slut, that's perfectly fine. But let me know that this is what we're doing beforehand.
Totally.
Because if I just come to you now, Sia, and I say, you whore, but I didn't tell you that I'm into humiliating you
Right.
and taking control, you would think, what are you doing, Sophie? That's just
Totally.
rude.
Yeah. It's the same thing.
Um,
Same thing. It goes both ways for sure. Like from the client perspective as well. I mean, I would love to have a client back on the show at some point, but at the same time, sometimes I just don't want to give them that voice. I have had a client on the show one time to speak their piece. To get that perspective. I don't think I need to do it again, but yes, it can be really tiresome because like we're trying to cater to your fantasies. Like for myself, I'm usually really eager to please and really trying to make their fantasy come to life. And as like you, Sophie, I'm just like really honored that they've chosen me to spend that experience and to spend their money. So it's just like, oh, let me do my best in terms of like catering to what you want. But yeah, like for example, and I could talk about this now, but like I feel like I was baited into doing a role play that was prohibited on. Yeah, you're. Yep. We need to talk about this because, like, I felt like being
yes.
this late into the game and then this happening to me and me still getting my ass kicked, and paying for the consequences after. Um, Getting baited by customers to do things that you're not supposed to be doing that they know they're not supposed to be doing on the platform is totally wrong and really disappointing. And you were nodding, I would say, in agreement because I'm sure that this has probably happened to you as
Yeah.
well. I mean, if you want to share your experience in terms of like people
Yeah,
trying to
yeah,
take advantage of
sure.
us, it's so annoying.
The thing is, we can't blame them for trying. It's
Mm-hmm.
us that need to stay firm on our feet. But sometimes it's really hard, because no one comes to you and says, hey, I want you to do this very forbidden taboo thing. They usually play into it first, they get to private, they do normal
Yes.
stuff, and then they start easing into it. I'm not saying they're necessarily the smartest people and they are so good at manipulating, but sometimes it just happens. Like
Mm-hmm.
slowly, slowly, they try to get you to do that. And it gets to a point where you are in the middle of your show, your emotions are heightened, and you feel like if you say no, you're gonna ruin your relationship
Mm-hmm.
or your chance at money. And I know that's bad, but as
Yeah,
women, I feel like sometimes this is what happens with us.
totally.
Um, Especially when men try to do it. Even in real life, even at our job, sometimes it's just hard to say no because you're scared of whatever. I mean, in real life, you're scared of the physical side. You just never know what might happen if you say no.
Mm-hmm.
And online, you're just scared because of your reputation as a model. You just don't want to be that person that said no to someone.
Yeah,
Mm,
I
It's just
know.
harder to, but we really need to set our boundaries because you never know how far that can go. I don't necessarily recall doing a forbidden role play.
Mm-hmm. Good. Don't do it. It's
It's no, it's just doing things that I didn't want to. So for
mm,
example, I had one private once where the person was asking me to play with some toys. The person was very fast with all the requests. I mean, 1 minute he wanted something, the other minute he wanted something
yeah.
else, and I'm trying my best to accommodate it. But at some point, I think he asked for anal with one of the dildos I normally use for normal sex.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I don't use that for anal, but I have other toys. I'm always accommodating with the request.
Yeah.
Whereas I know other girls might just say no, very plain like this, but you don't want to kill their boner, let's say.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
So I gave another alternative, and the person said to me, I remember this so vividly. They said, shut up, you dumb whore. You're going to do what I want.
Oh my
And in that
God.
moment, it hurt my feelings
Totally.
because the relationship in the private, it wasn't about being a dom, humiliating, degrading me. So we didn't set that boundary. And
Mm-hmm.
the whole private, he was sweet and nice.
Yeah.
So I know he wasn't into dominating like that. He just got upset that I didn't want to do exactly what he wanted me to do.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I was accommodating you as just another toy, same size, really, it wasn't that different, but he
Yeah.
just didn't like to hear no. And
Right.
imagine I said it in my sweetest voice. So if I
Um,
actually was firmer as I should be, it could have been worse. And the problem with this is, as cam models or any sort of worker in this industry, you're scared that that person might come and try to take revenge on you.
totally.
There's clever ways. There are people who I've always been told if they have 4 hours to stay in a private with you, they have 4 hours to come and harass you.
Totally.
So
Totally.
it's always good to be sweet and nice when you say no, but some people just have a hard time understanding it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like, I don't know, maybe my experience is also different too in terms of like the types of clients and the times of day. Like, I usually cam a lot in the daytime, and I find the clients to be super sweet and super nice. And the times I have gone at nighttime, just because I have a firm boundary of like I don't want to work at nighttime because I want to spend time outside and socialize and have a life outside of sex work. But like the times I have gone at nighttime, I've found that the customers there, at least maybe here in North America, have been so much more aggressive in terms of like what they're wanting and what they're demanding, like more demanding of things and more demanding of like I have more requests for this. And whereas like my clients in the morning are like super chill, like they might be on like a lunch break at work or kind of thing. And
Mm,
like it's very different. I don't know if it the same thing for you because you're also in a different time zone catering to I guess folks from the UK and then Americans
yeah,
at night as you mentioned. But I love to hear some insight on that too if you have anything to share.
I think you have a good point. And I would think of it on more of a spiritual level because it's nighttime, it's in the
Mm-hmm.
shadows. People just feel like they can open up more about it. But,
Yeah,
unless you're into being watched, I guess, people wouldn't just do something in broad daylight.
totally.
And I feel like when it's nighttime and everyone's sleeping, it's just easier for you to bring that beast out when it comes to sexuality.
Totally.
So yeah, I think I've never thought about it like that, but what you're saying makes sense. And yes, because I work with primarily English members, so
Hmm.
UK,
Yeah.
and it's nighttime for them. And then towards my morning, it's more North American.
Right.
But I would say that, yeah, that has something to do with it. I've never worked daytime because I feel like most of my members are at work,
Right.
and I can only get probably quickies on their lunch break, but
Yeah.
I don't want a quickie.
No, I don't want the quickies either. Like it's annoying. I do want to talk about like in terms of like um kind of dissecting the client as well in terms of like the wants and needs and why they're on the website. Obviously, they're on the website because they want to get off. Yes. I'm not talking about that. That's pretty obvious. We know that. That's one reason. But also like talking about the other side of things that maybe that is not discussed very often in terms of like loneliness and companionship. I'd really love to hear. I know that you have some stuff to say on that, so I'd love to obviously hear your perspective on that, Sophie.
Okay, so the camming industry has been going on for about 24 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And when OnlyFans and all the other fan sites just started getting some traction, there is a reason why camming didn't die. It's because you can't get the sort of experience with just buying content.
Mm-hmm.
People want connection.
Mm-hmm.
Men want connection. I think for us women, and whoever identifies as a woman, it's just easier to make friends. We go out, we go shopping. Men don't really do that unless it's a game night.
Yeah.
But, usually, and it's not very discussed. And that's sad for them because, they are raised thinking that they shouldn't talk about their feelings
Mm-hmm.
because it's not masculine enough,
Right.
and they still need to do it, so that's why they come to us. And sadly, sometimes I'll have to say it, they feel like they can't discuss this with their partners, so they come to us and they open up to us because we listen. It's hard. Sometimes we act as therapists. I've even been a couples therapist. I had someone who came with their partner, and we had a good session together, and it was very fun. But yes, when a cam model or a content creator introduces herself to someone, they usually tend to say, "Oh, but I don't just have sex, there's more to it." And people don't
Mm-hmm.
believe us.
I
They think we're
know.
only saying that, yeah, they think we're only saying that to save face because we don't want to admit we're just sex workers.
Yeah.
That's just not true. It is so much more than sex. If I was to say it in percentages, I think maybe 40% sex and 60% more than that, or
Mm-hmm.
something different.
Totally.
My most fun privates have been cooking with people, talking to people, trying on clothes for people.
Yeah.
And I know when you say this to someone who doesn't consume our content or just participate in it, they don't believe it because they think, why would someone just pay for you to eat with them? But it's because they are lonely and they need
They
that.
need a connection.
And it doesn't always mean that they can't get a girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
I've had people that were absolutely handsome, people with big dicks, people with money,
Mm-hmm.
with good paying jobs. So you would think, well, they could have a girlfriend. But the problem is there's other things like if they have a very good paying job and they're always busy, they don't have time for a relationship. I've had many of them, they prefer to pay for it at their
Like at their leisure.
preferred time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Totally.
the leisure. Exactly, because having a relationship means you need to be involved with it 24/7, right?
Yes.
The person deserves your time, but sometimes they just don't have the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's either that they will hire a sex worker that will do physical work,
Right. Yep.
so an escort,
Yep.
or they can come online because sometimes they don't really need that physical connection. Maybe they just want to talk about their day.
Totally.
They want to talk about their plans. And I know this is so hard to believe for some people, but that is the truth. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we all want to connect. We all want to have someone to speak to. Or I've even had a more extreme case of a person, very great man. He's lost his girlfriend in a car accident.
Oh, that's so sad.
And I know, she was the love of his life,
Yeah.
and he just can't get past it. So I'm not saying I'm pretending to be hurt, but that's just the way that he
It's processing right
manages
now.
to,
Yeah.
yeah, he just manages to connect with people because in real life it's harder. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I'm getting paid to sit and listen, and I enjoy doing that. But, I'm not going to say anything bad. I'm not going to be mean unless they want to.
Of course.
So it's more convenient. I can understand.
Totally. Yeah, no, I agree with like everything that you said there, Sophie. Like this became so apparent to me when I first got into the industry as a sugar baby, like doing in-person work. And, I catered to a lot of like older men, CEOs, C-suite executives, lawyers and stuff, where people don't really have the time to nourish a relationship, or they need to bring
Hmm.
someone to an event. So they would like obviously seek out and paid companionship for that specific reason. And the same thing goes for being online as well. Like, yes, there might be the instance that where a person can't get a girlfriend, or there's many different reasons why that might be the case. But like people seek us out for obviously conversation. They want to unwind in a certain way, and I think that's such a beautiful part of the work, because again, it's not something that people talk about too often. And like the fact that like a lot of my sex work in the beginning days that were really based on those platonic style relationships, again more so
Hmm.
than the sexual side of it, like that was just an aspect of it. It did happen in some instances, and sometimes it didn't even happen because people were just lonely and wanted kind of a girlfriend type experience. So I can really say and empathize with you in terms of like this is definitely a really valid reason why people seek us out and our company online. It's so true, and there honestly needs to be like less stigmatization on that, whether it's sexual or not. I think it's such an important and beautiful part of any kind of relationship. um, so I'm really, really glad that you brought that to light too, because people don't often see that side, or as you mentioned, like might want to refuse that, like, oh, that's not the only thing you do. Or I'm like, yeah, I'm saying it's just a portion of a percentage of it.
Yeah, it's
Totally.
very different than normal porn. I mean, where you go on a porn site, because okay, you can find the best porn video, but it won't mention your name. It won't say, maybe if you have a specific fetish, you have a trigger word, it won't mention it. So it's more personal when you come to a camera and say, hey, I want this and this and that. Can you do it for me? And a lot of the times I've had members just come on my page or just on the platform itself wanting sex, and then they stop by because they see me have a conversation with someone, they're interested. They say, oh, you're actually really smart, because they have this preconception that sex workers are
Dumb.
dumb,
Yes.
which I'm always fighting against. But it's good when I can prove them wrong, and when they realize, oh, I can actually have a conversation here. It's more than just sex, but we're all fighting for it. I'm pretty sure you know that as well.
Definitely, yeah. I think it's it, there's something about like the live component of it. I mean, like yes, if you are a content creator, you usually do have the option of going live too. But there's something nice about the whole one-on-one situation, where you can get access to them in a more intimate kind of way, whether that's sexual or not. Like I think it's nice to experience something in real time as opposed to pictures and videos that are just
Hmm.
purchasable, and accessible for you in a different way. It's just nice to have like how we're having a conversation right now. Like it's really, um, I think something that's missing in a lot of online content creation. Like you don't always have that
Oh,
access all the time,
absolutely.
right? Yeah. I mean,
I mean,
mhm.
when you create content, a lot of the times they're purchasing something that's already pre-made,
Yes.
then you sell it to multiple people.
Yes.
Yes, you have options for custom videos, but most content creators don't like to do that because it is time consuming.
Yes.
And for the right price, it's good, but not everyone is willing to pay the right price. So they resort, I feel like members resort to buying the pre-made content.
Hmm.
But then, like I said, it's just not personable. It's not for you. It's not customized to your liking. So I can understand why cam girls are preferred.
Totally. I mean, like shifting into the conversation about AI, because I know we want to mention that too, but you mentioned a platform at the top of the episode. Do you mind repeating that platform again in case people missed it?
Yes, it's called my.club. So it's just a dot,
Yeah.
full stop, .com, my.club.com. And there it's subscription based. So you can subscribe to my page. Personally, I like to post content every day. So one day it's not safe for work, one day it's safe for work. And then every Saturday I post a new video, which is between 5 to 10 minutes, full interaction. It's always a different role play, different setting. I keep it fun every week. So if you subscribe for my page, which is $9.99, you get access to all of this. But yeah, we have AI as well. which is a carbon copy of myself. And sometimes, if I'm not available, you can talk to her. Now, before anyone thinks, well, that's a bit weird, we trained the AI to be exactly like us. So we gave her our preferences. If we have pets, name of the pet, where we live, what we like.
Wow.
So it is us. It's still being trained at the moment. So if there's anything weird that you might say, guys, don't worry, it's gonna get better. But that kind of helps us to be able to step back sometimes, because burnout is so real
Oh my
when you
gosh.
are working in the industry.
Yes.
And the thing is, when you work in an office, you have your set hours when you can work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're sending someone an email out of their working hours, you will be told they're out of office.
Right.
But with us, people can message at any time,
Mm-hmm.
and we're not going to stop them. So it's very easy to just fall into the trap of picking up your phone and
Yes.
responding to messages all day. So sometimes that is good. Um, but personally, you can imagine if you have 100,000 subscribers and they're all messaging, it's not great for them either to not get an answer. And the thing is, with content creation and with agencies, there's something called chatters.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Most members now are aware of that,
Yes.
and that's people that are talking to you on behalf of the model
Right.
as if they were the model. And personally, I think that is quite bad, because members think that they're talking to you.
Yep.
But at the same time, I understand how it's just impossible sometimes to keep up with it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a team, I work myself.
Yeah.
I respond to everyone on my own, but I feel like digital twin is just a better option, because at
Totally.
least it's still me. I train that person. It's not the person. I train the AI. It's not just a random man at the end of the computer talking to you. But to be fair, I don't usually keep it open. If I can answer to the person, it's only when I'm asleep.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's a good option. It's like an assistant, and sometimes it's fun
Totally.
to even think who can make you come faster, me or my twin, because
Ah.
she sends photo as well. My photos, she sends them. So let's see who can make you come faster.
I love that. I love that. And like, we had a conversation briefly before we actually jumped on air, but we were talking about like, and I haven't had a conversation about AI in a while. The last episode I did was back in season 5 with Melrose Michaels, talking about the future of AI in sex work, and talking about do we embrace it, or do we are we going to be in fear of it? And I always think that you should absolutely embrace any kind of new technology to kind of get you ahead of the game. And Sophie, I'd love to hear like a bit more about your experience with My Dot Club,
Hmm.
how do you say it again? My.club.com.
My dot club, yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh. But yeah, like in terms of like really training your AI person to be a carbon copy of you. Like how like do you send? I know you're talking about like there's probably some kind of like you probably have to take pictures in different angles so it can get like all angles of
Hmm.
you. It learns like your whatever hobbies and things that you like and stuff like that. What else can the platform do? I'm just really curious. Like if I was a member, what can I expect from that platform?
So first of all, AI will never be able to fully replace us, especially
Yes,
because of what we said before with human connection.
totally.
It doesn't understand that.
Mm-hmm.
So this is supposed to be just an assistant. Um, even on other platforms, not just the sex industry, AI struggles with how many fingers it creates in a photo. The eyes look a little bit lifeless. So that's why I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying it is just supposed to support us, not to replace us completely. Um, when it comes to the platform, it works like a normal fan site.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, subscription based, you get access to the person's content. You can also purchase video call minutes. Um, but yeah, you have the option to talk to the digital twin when the model is not available, because sometimes men want it straightforward.
Of
They want it
course.
straight away. They don't want to wait. And I understand that, because if you're paying for something, why not? But when it comes to AI, I think we really are safe. If you look back in the history of sex industry, we always had new things coming up, the blow up dolls,
Yep.
toys,
Mm-hmm.
electric toys. Oh my God, the fuck machine. So we always thought this is gonna replace us. Then when Cami was invented, and I'm pretty sure the escorts were thinking our job is gone, but it's
It's never
never,
going to be
because it's
gone.
just
Yeah.
an add-on to whatever is existing at the moment. And I think as sex workers, we can really use AI to our advantage. It's not something that will take our jobs. It cannot.
I cannot. Yeah.
It cannot. The photos are too perfect. And sometimes men, or people in general, really, they want a little bit of imperfection.
Hmm. They want
You
the
can imagine
realness.
if you're talking to, yes, if you're talking to AI and you are making her come, it gets to a point where have you really worked for it? Because she's programmed to do that.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
that's what I'm saying. I really don't want people to think that they don't get access to the real us. For example, on this platform, and all platforms are kind of introducing AI at the moment
Totally.
because it's a great tool
Hmm.
to use, but you still have that human component because it's essential. You can't do without it.
Yeah, no, there's so many great ways to look at that, Sophie, and like I like that your perspective in terms of like it's a great almost like an assistant to capture all the people that you cannot physically get to when you're on your off hours, because believe it or not, we need off hours, like we need a break, and it's really
Hmm.
hard to always be on our apps all the time and be accessible. Unfortunately, that's where technology and platforms are moving is to be accessible at all hours of the day. But we know that's not humanly possible. Like we can't do that, and that's why,
No.
yeah, and that's why assistants and like these clones, AI clones exist, which I think is like really fascinating technology. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. I feel like it could be maybe perhaps like the way of the future, maybe if we haven't already
And as
adopted
a
it.
model, yeah, as a model, I'll still read the conversations that happen because let's say the person purchases some video call minutes and the person shared something intimate to with the AI. I need to know about that. So it's never a case of, oh my God, I'm not speaking to the real Sophie Ryder. It's just a case of, hey, I'm sleeping for 8 hours. You can play with her. She's my twin. She'll take care of you. But then I'll get back to you. Or sometimes people just don't feel, maybe they're shy and they don't want to share their deepest, most intimate secrets with me. You can talk to her if you want. But
Hmm.
like I said, it's still hands-on experience. We're still going to be able to connect.
Do the customers know when they are experiencing something with your twin? Like, will it say,
Yes.
like, I know you mentioned like with photos and stuff, it will say like AI generated, but like for
Hmm.
these like um, live twin sessions and stuff, like it will also indicate that this is not actually you, like this is your your bot.
Yes, I believe there is a tag that says the digital twin is enabled, but at the same
Mm.
time, you can kind of tell because it is a little bit more formal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, of course.
Um, yeah, so in all honesty, I think a lot of the times members use it more for getting content out of
Yes.
the AI rather than just conversating because, yes, with a human, it's better. So personally, I've never used my twin excessively to speak to people because I'm always
Yeah.
available. But I feed my twin with some pictures that I've taken. So they're my real pictures.
Hmm.
And then she can offer them to the member. So if the member says,
Gotcha.
"Hey Sophie, do you have a nude picture of you with a toy?" And then I'm asleep and the person really needs it now because that's when they're
Yeah.
horny. My twin will jump in and say, "Hey, yeah, here's a picture. You can
Mm.
purchase it for $5 or whatever." So like I said, it's more of an assistant. So you get the
Mhm.
feel that you're not talking to me,
Yeah.
but it's not tricky.
Yeah. And the conversation and like that
Yeah.
flow isn't ending for the paying customer, which is kind of nice because sometimes you're like, oh my
Hmm.
gosh. Like when you wake up, you're like, say if I'm a, like Sex Panther or something, I'm like, oh my God, I got these messages. Like, and then like now they're offline. And then it's like a cat and mouse game of like trying to catch them and like trying to be in line at the same
Hmm.
time. So that's really cool of kind of like bridging the gap for that. I think it's so fascinating. Very cool.
Yes, we have the customer in mind. Like
Hmm.
you said, it's about giving them a good experience. It's not just about helping us as models, because if we really wanted that, we could also have the chatters that are a strange man talking to our customers, but it's not good. It's
No.
not good because, you're not offering the great experience to the person. They As a customer, you speak to the model and you can get attached to her.
Yeah.
And then to find out that it wasn't her, that's a bit disrespectful.
Yeah, it could be a bit
So I
betrayal.
think this option is just a little bit better because we can catch up with the conversation at our own time, and yeah, it just works better for them.
Totally. Like I wonder if that like begs a question later down the line in terms of like the ethics around using AI twins or digitally manufactured whatever twins models and stuff
Hmm.
too. Like I
Hmm.
wonder like how that conversation is going to grow in the coming years. But again, at the end of the day, I think it comes down to you yourself as the model and what you think is best and right for your paying clients. So,
There are regulations, and there will probably be more as AI advances. There will be more regulations where you have to tell people
of course,
AI.
yeah,
Yes. So, like I said, on the photos, you have a little
tag.
tag, a watermark that says it's AI generated. When the twin is talking to them, it says that the digital twin is enabled.
Hmm.
So they have to know because
Yeah,
otherwise it's conning them into something that's
totally.
not real,
Yes.
and that's not fair. I
No,
wouldn't want that either.
no, totally. It's like, oh, that's not what I'm paying for in a certain way, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Really cool.
So yeah, with this
Mhm.
platform, it's always said on all the banners, you know what you're getting into. So it's not tricking the customers into thinking they're gonna talk to someone, but it's not. They know what they're getting into. That's just their thing.
Totally. That's cool. I'm gonna have to look into that too. And obviously, we're gonna plug all your links shortly. But Sophie, my God,
You should join.
yeah, I'm gonna look into it right after this because, like, I know a girlfriend of mine has an AI generated twin as well. I wonder if she's using the same site. I'm gonna see if that's the same one that she's using. But super
Okay.
cool. I will bug you later if you need an affiliate link. But after
Mine too.
I was gonna be like, let me hit you up after. But Sophie, we've tackled a lot of really great topics today. I mean, and thank you for sharing your insight on Cam Studio specifically in Romania and how that's operating there and like showing us that other side of things. I thought that was a really in-depth and really fascinating conversation to share a bit of that insight, especially like for a lot of my listeners here that are based in North America, just hearing what happens over there and like um, how that's operated and just kind of get like a back end view of how these studios operate. A little, it can be different than ones in here in North America because they don't really like, and someone listening correct me if I'm wrong, but I have not heard of a lot of like in-person cam studios, but maybe it's also a hush hush thing here, and it's a lot of like independent online stuff that I've heard of specifically. But thank you for bringing that topic to the table, as well as really heavily talking about boundaries and consenting to things like that's super important as well, and talking to us about my.club.com. That's super interesting stuff that I'm sure a lot of our listeners are going to be looking into after this. But before I let you go, where can we all find you?
Okay, so my main domain is sophieryder.net, and Ryder is spelled Rhyder.
Mm-hmm.
So if you access that as like a link tree, you can have all my links. I am Live Jasmine, I'm on my.club, and my username is usually all over the platforms are Sophie Ryder. Twitter, Instagram, and I also have a platform for my Dutch speaking members in
Mm,
Netherlands. It's called Fan Central and F2F.
right.
So if any of the listeners, I'm not sure what the odds are, but if they are from the Netherlands, they can also check me out there. That's about it.
All those things.
So
And
thank you so much for your time.
oh,
I
you're
appreciate
so
that you gave me
welcome.
your time and this opportunity here. So I'm hopeful that maybe this discussion will give some information to people, and especially with models that are just starting up, you need to be aware of the possible bad side of joining with a studio, but
Hmm.
hopefully they make the right decisions.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And it's really good to have this insight as well. And thank you so much for contacting me to be on the show to talk about this because, like, there's so many topics out there and there's so many things I want to tackle too. But, like, obviously, I can't think of everything. So it's so great when I hear, guests like yourself wanting to come to the show to talk about something you're so passionate about. So thank you so much, Sophie. All of the links that you provided are in the show notes. If you guys haven't clicked on there already, feel free to go ahead and give Sophie a follow. If you like listening to her, I'm sure you'll enjoy her content as well. For everyone else that's wanting to get in touch with myself, you can find me on X, it's Stripped by Sia. You can also find me on Instagram, Stripped by Sia Podcast. As I mentioned, if you want to financially support the show, it's patreon.com/strippedbysia. And of course, if you have been listening for a while, you are enjoying this, the show, the resources, the free education that's on it, please review on Apple. You can rate 5 stars, answer the questions on Spotify. I love to hear, and I love reading all the comments that you guys give me. It really helps keep me motivated with the show. I mean, obviously, I'm never going to stop doing this for as long as I can. But you can do that. It really helps with the discoverability of the show, helps other people find it that might be needing these free resources. And if you yourself are wanting to be in the show, I've been getting a lot of requests lately, but you can go to strippedbysia.com. And there's a button there called contact me or contact. You can go ahead and fill out the form there, and I will be back in touch with you once you pitch me. So with that being said, it is new episodes every single Sunday, dropping at midnight Pacific Standard Time. And stay tuned for another great episode next week when we talk about escort review boards. We'll see you all in next week, guys. Thank you so much for chatting with me, Sophie. It was a pleasure having you on today.
Thank you as well.
You're listening to Stripped by Sia, hosted, produced, and edited by Steph Sia. Music by Ted D. Graphic design by Maria Bellandarama, and photography by Ian Dabrin.